Welcome everyone. It is our weekly live Q&A. As always, if you have any questions, feel free, throw them in the chat. I'll get to them as they pop up. If you are watching the replay, always feel free, throw them in there. We'll get to them on the next week's live session. It is Tuesday, the first Tuesday after Memorial Day. Most schools here are either already out or about to get out this week. So I wanted to go over vacations in terms of keeping your goals going, keeping your progress, and some things to just kind of be aware of and be mindful of. So things don't put you in panic mode or into effort mode as soon as you get back. So obviously, the two big challenges with going on vacation is being out of our routines, which impacts both our exercise and activity, and typically our eating. So there's a couple things to kind of look at. As far as activity goes, things to kind of be aware of is if you've been training fairly hard and at a fairly challenging level for yourself, 8 to 12 weeks, there's typically a recommended what we call deload phase, where we either do light to no activity for a period of about a week, just to let a lot of your what we call systemic fatigue, your connective tissues, everything that gets heavily stressed when we're doing a lot of high demand exercise, to kind of rest, recover, fully regenerate. Because typically when we're doing, a 3-day rotation with a day or two of rest in between, we're pretty much constantly creating stress on those areas without a lot of recovery phase. So a lot of times what we look at is, okay, if you're going to go on vacation, go for a trip, is it time for that deload phase? And if it is, maybe we don't need to stress about where are you going to do your workouts or how are you going to fit this in, because it's time to take that rest and recovery phase for a little bit, let your body rebound. Obviously, you can still go for some walks. You can take stairs instead of elevators when it's out, but maybe you don't have to stress about, do I need a body weight workout to do while I'm, traveling on vacation? Do I need to put bands in? Do I need to see if the hotel has a gym center and things like that? Sometimes it's just, you don't need to stress about that, because we want that rest of complete rest every couple months kind of built in. The beauty is, if you're not a professional athlete or competitive bodybuilder, life kind of works those rest periods in for us. So it's just something to be mindful of if you're going to go on vacation, or if you've got, a busy week for family, work demands, whatever. Maybe it's okay to set aside for that week, not stress yourself out about one more thing to do, and let your body rest and recover there. Which kind of flips us into the other area for concern with vacation, which is our food intake, our nutrition. Obviously always a challenge, because typically if we're on the road, we're traveling somewhere, we don't always have 100% control over what we eat as far as preparation goes, but we may have a little bit control over what we choose with that. So in that regard, it's just an aspect of being mindful. So if you're choosing your meals, prioritize your protein choice first, try and get your vegetables second, and then you can get some of the other foods around that. Being mindful of kind of that planned out, like, this is what I'm trying to focus on first, helps keep a lot of the overeating in check to a certain extent, just simply because when we get our protein, we get our fibrous vegetables in, we're already getting filled with the nutritious stuff before we start loading in a lot of the other foods. Whereas if we go the other direction, where if we find our favorite sides first, and then we're like, oh yeah, I should throw in a protein, I should throw in some vegetables, there's just not any room left. And we've eaten a large amount and we're over in calories and we didn't get a good nourishment in. So if you go the other way, protein first, vegetables second, then we can look at some of the more fun things. It's a better mindset when you're at home and on the road, honestly. Um, but doing that, so even if maybe the proteins aren't the best thing, maybe you're picking a burger, maybe you're picking chicken tenders or something like that, because that's all that's available there. I know amusement park food and stuff doesn't always have the best selections, but getting some protein in is still a good thing. It's going to fill you up more. You're going to have the nourishment to keep your muscles going and keep the rest of your body taken care of from that replenishment standpoint. And the other aspects with this is, as long as you're just being mindful with that, you don't have to stress yourself out terribly about this, because ultimately it's most people's vacations are at most 2 weeks. That's not the end of the world, as long as soon as we get back home, we're back into our routines, the habits, everything that you established before you left. We're going immediately back into it. That's where that consistent, persistent mindset comes into play, where yes, we're going to get kind of derailed or off track now and then, but we're still going to be persistent in getting back to those daily habits that we've established for ourselves. So yeah, we can have fun, we can travel, we can enjoy some of the different foods that we have access to during that, as long as we're not letting that become the new normal, where as soon as we get back, we're going out to eat all the time, we're picking things up instead of making our food. As long as you're not establishing new habits with that vacation, it's not the end of the world to have a little bit of fun. Um, and that's really the big thing, because the main thing that I see for a lot of people is they'll go in with the right mindset of have some fun on vacation, have some things here and there, um, but come back, immediately check on the scale, and overly freak out and kind of overwhelm themselves because they see a large spike on the scale, sometimes anywhere between 5 to 10 pounds. That is honestly pretty normal, and it's not all fat like most people tend to freak out and worry about. You didn't eat enough extra energy in a week's long trip to put on 5 pounds of fat. What typically happens, especially if you've been eating fairly clean and you're doing regular activities, you're getting all of your sleep and hydration in your day to day, what will happen when we start eating more things that are from fast foods, um, processed snacks, um, restaurant foods, all of these tend to have a lot of extra sodium and salts added to them to enhance flavors. And a lot of times when people are traveling, we tend to be um, on the dehydrated end, meaning that we're not consuming enough fluids. So the combination of not getting enough water in our regular intake like we used to, and amping up our salt and sodium intake, we end up retaining a lot of water during that time period. So a lot of that, 5, 10 pounds that we see after vacation, it's not actually body fat, it's a lot of water retention from the inflammation and the sodium swelling generated by some of the foods and things that we had in there. If you're having alcohol and stuff, then you usually don't have that. That's going to increase that inflammation response as well, and you're going to see that higher water retention occur. This is why getting back into your regular routines and habits becomes so important when you return from vacation, because as long as you get back to normal, your hydration is up, you're eating your proper healthy foods again, getting your protein, getting your fiber and vegetables. We're doing things that are prepared by us, not other manufacturing or people, so we know what's going on in there, and we're sleeping, we're not, excessively drinking again, and our body is able to flush that water retention out and reset everything back to normal. Within 3 to 7 days, you can see most of that weight spike reset itself. Maybe we put on a pound or two of actual fat, but again, regular routines, regular habits, that's going to come off fairly quickly within the next 2 weeks as well. So it's not a whole lot to worry about and stress yourself out about and kind of go into a panic and overreact. You don't have to do a cleanse. You don't have to do an extremely restrictive diet as soon as you get back to punish yourself for having vacation. It's just a matter of get back on your regular routines as soon as we can so we build and keep sustaining the lifestyle that supports our goals, but we can still have fun when we want to. That's the most important part. It's not about, binging and cutting and going through these very unhealthy cycle of over restrictive, extreme dieting to, binging, overconsumption of everything in sight, and just cycling back and forth with that. We can have some fun here and there, but our daily habits that support long-term health that we enjoy and can handle doing without creating additional stress is the most important thing. So just a few thoughts to think about as you enter into the summer and you're starting to prep for your summer trips. If you do have other questions, additional follow-ups you'd like us to cover, throw them in the comments. We'll cover those in the upcoming live sessions as we go through. In the meantime, I hope everyone has a great week, and remember to stay persistent in your consistent pursuit of health.